Broadcasting from the great state of Texas. News and views with a Lone Star perspective. You can sound off during the show by sending Chad a text at 806-680-2790. That's 806-680-2790. Or call in at 1-800-687-0790. Now, here's Chad Hasty.
Lubbock, Amarillo, Abilene, Wichita Falls, Midland, Odessa, Dallas, Fort Worth, down in Houston, over in El Paso, and anywhere else. Inside or outside the great state of Texas, wherever you may be listening on this Thursday, April 23rd, of 2026. We welcome you in. Glad that you have decided to hang out with us for your evening. We've got so much to talk about. McKenzie DiLullo will join the show coming up at 5:35 this evening. We've got, of course, a lot of topics to get to, a lot of your text messages, your thoughts on all the issues of the day. You've heard from everybody else all day. Now it's your turn. It's your opportunity to talk about the latest issues that may be out there, the latest topics that may be out there. Maybe you want to get into some of that stuff, whether it's a local issue or a statewide issue. We can, of course, do that. Of course, we've got some great national topics, as always, that we can get into and talk about as well. And, of course, we want to hear from you on what's really important out there, what's really making headlines just in your world. And like I said, we've got a packed show today. We've got McKenzie DiLullo with the Texan News, who will be giving us a call shortly. We've got some great stories from the Texan that we can get to. Just some of the topics that we'll be getting into today throughout the show. We've got new polling data on what younger voters are caring about right now. James Tallarico attempting to win back black voters. He's still in that campaign mode, which is probably not exactly where he should be. He should be focusing on the general election rather than repairing fractures within the Democrat Party. But hey, James Tallarico, he's attempting to do that. Spirit Airlines and the Trump administration, the government looking at possibly bailing out Spirit Airlines. Is that really what we should be doing? Is that really our job as a government to bail out Spirit Airlines? Or do we let the markets have a go at it and take it down? We'll be getting into that during the show today. Interesting story about the latest within the Texas foster care system. If we have time, we'll get into that. And, of course, whatever else we find ourselves getting into, we will tackle those issues as we always do. How do you get in touch with us? It's very simple. You can text in with on the text line at 806-680-2790. That's 806-680-2790. When you do text in, be sure to give us your name and where you're listening from. That way, we can give you a proper shout-out and acknowledgement. We like to do that here on the show. And, of course, you can also find other ways to reach out to us. You can get online and reach us on social media at Chad Hasty Radio on Twitter /X. Also, Facebook and a few other places as well. Let's see. Oh, yeah, you can also give us a call at any time. 1-800-687-0790. That's 1-800-687-0790. That's how you used to call in all the time. You know, you would call in, you dial those numbers up, and it puts you right in touch with us. It's that simple. Now you have to go through the very first voice you hear from when you dial in. He's in an all gray sweater mood today. It's our good friend Nick. Nick, how you doing?
I'm okay. I'm feeling a little gray.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's just it's a Thursday. I don't know. You know, it's that weird middleman between Wednesday and the weekend. So it just feels a little awkward.
Yeah.
To me. Speaking of the weekend, though, I've been noticing that my backyard, the grass, it's getting a little high.
Okay.
You know, it's peeking through the fence.
Yeah.
It's getting now where I stroll through my yard, and it's getting up to almost my knees at some little stragglers. So
okay.
I think, is it too early?
No.
Okay. To start mowing?
No.
Okay. Have you started?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Our grass is it's not going to win any awards. It's not the most uniform. It's patchy.
Yeah.
I mean, we have two big dogs that run around in circles in the back, so they kick it up.
You're not looking for a prize.
Right.
You're
I'm not showing anyone.
Yeah. You're not looking for to win any prizes here.
Yeah.
You just want to get stuff done. You want to have it
It's a practical.
under control.
Exactly.
And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. So I may have to start that. Like I said, I may have to start this weekend, or perhaps next weekend.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, because every once in a while, when I say I'm gonna mow,
right?
Those are the magical words.
Oh.
That summon rain. Every once in a while. Right as I'm planning, sure enough, it starts raining. So I don't know. We'll see. Or I could just procrastinate and have a jungle in the front yard and backyard.
Yeah.
Which is always fun. So I don't know. It's kind of on my to-do list. A few chores around the house and maybe some yard work. Possibly starting tomorrow, but Friday. But we'll see.
I've got a few things to do on the old honey-do list, if you will. That honey-do list is getting longer and longer. And
you don't do every single thing every weekend?
No.
Shame, I think.
I know.
Wow.
I get close, but sometimes I just go, that can wait.
Yeah.
That can wait.
It's like you get the easy things, you try, you start from the top, and you work your way down, and then you get to the big stuff.
Yeah.
Move those big tub planters in the back. It's never the fun ones, and you leave those. You put those off.
Yeah.
Until you really get yelled at.
It's really anything where you're just like, I don't feel like doing that today.
No.
Yeah.
And you know what? The wife is usually like, okay, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, she knows.
You do you.
She knows. She's got the list.
Yeah.
She's checking it off in her.
Checking it twice.
Yeah.
Is it a mental list, or does she write stuff down, put it on the fridge?
Oh no,
for
she
you?
knows. She just. My wife, she likes to do the. Hey, remember you have this over here.
No.
Hey, remember this.
So she keeps track.
She keeps track
for you. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
She keeps track,
That's good.
and when I know she's getting slightly annoyed by maybe something that I haven't done yet, it is would you look at that? It's still not done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Funny.
Yeah.
Interesting
funny.
how that works.
That's interesting. Yeah. Oh look, that's it. Those boxes haven't been torn down yet.
Oof.
And I go, yes, you're right. Yeah. Your Amazon boxes haven't been torn down yet.
Do you save boxes? You guys save them? Really?
I will for a little bit. I will just in case we need to return something. But for the most part, after about 5 days, I want it out.
I was going to say you give it about a week.
Yeah.
And then every day you see it, on the table in the corner of the room.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's time.
It is.
You know what? Rip it up.
It's
do
time
whatever.
to go. Time to throw it in the old dumpster.
No.
Light it on fire.
I was going to say, or burn it.
Yes.
I don't know what your little laws are where you are, but
the little laws where we are, it's just there are no laws actually.
Whoa, Wild West out where you are.
That's what I asked about.
Yeah.
Do we have laws? And I got a few different answers.
No.
But the answer I liked best was not really.
Yeah. Do what you want.
Yeah.
You want to burn?
And so only unless we have a burn ban can I not go out and do a burn pit or something.
It's always fun. The compost pile and the burn pit.
Yeah.
Two of the most fun things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
So that's maybe I'll burn something this weekend. Maybe I'll make an effigy of Nick, and we'll burn the effigy of Nick out there. I don't know why I went there, but that why not? Why not, Nick? 806-680-2790. That's 806-680-2790. Of course, the big news this weekend is George Strait. He's going to be in town, and there's going to be people coming in from all over the area, going to restaurants and attending going to our hotels and everything else. So it's the city is doing everything they can. They're out there. They're putting on their tuxedos and trying to make everything look real nice for all the visitors who are coming in. 806-680-2790. When we come back, your phone calls, your text, and more.
The Titan of Texas Talk Radio, The Chad Hasty Show.
Talking with newsmakers and about the issues that matter to you. The Chad Hasty Show, weekdays from 5 to 7 p.m. Chad's show is also digital with the Chad Hasty Show podcast. The Chad Hasty Show podcast can be downloaded on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, and the Radio On Demand page on KFYO.com. The Chad Hasty Show, all across Texas during your drive home, weekdays from 5 to 7 p.m.
There's danger out there. It lurks on highways and quiet neighborhood streets. It's more likely to kill you than a shark and more terrifying than the biggest snake. Distracted driving claims lives every day. Every notification, swipe, social post, video, or selfie while driving risks your life. So while you might think public speaking or the zombie apocalypse is scary, what's really terrifying and even deadly is distracted driving. Eyes forward, don't drive distracted. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
If you've missed the Kim Komando Show, you've missed a lot.
So Mark Zuckerberg and Priscilla Chan, they are scooping up a brand new mansion in Indian Creek where your HOA fees cost more than our homes.
Sure.
The price tag is close to $200 million.
Oh, so they got a small one.
Zuck found a metaverse that he finally can control.
America's digital goddess, Kim Komando.
Kim Komando, every Saturday afternoon from 2 to 5 on KFYO.
After 98 years, we're still on the air. This is News Talk 95.1 FM and 790 AM KFYO.
Back on the Chad Hasty Show. Now, Nick the other day was wondering, hey, do they still have the take your sons and daughter to work day, all that kind of... Today is take our daughters and sons to work day. So I don't know how many people celebrated that one today, but if you did, that was it. Take your kid to work day. 806 680-2790. Oh, by the way, later on in the show, some big layoffs coming at some AI firms, and we'll talk about that, or thanks to AI, I guess you could say. Some big layoffs coming, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on during the show today. The Trumpster moving to reschedule marijuana. This out of Politico. The Trump administration moving to boost medical research into marijuana Thursday by reducing federal regulation of the drug. The expanded access for researchers will apply only to products approved by the FDA or by states that permit use of medical marijuana. The Justice Department announced that it would move those products from Schedule 1 of the Controlled Substances Act, for which research is restricted, to Schedule 3. The Drug Enforcement Administration, which is part of the DOJ, regulates marijuana. The department also announced that it would schedule an administrative hearing on June 29th to expedite the process of rescheduling marijuana, and more broadly to Schedule 3. The rescheduling action comes roughly 4 months after President Trump signed an executive order directing the DOJ to pursue marijuana reclassification. The action, one of the most consequential federal marijuana policy changes in decades, could lend new legitimacy to regulated medical marijuana programs operating in more than 40 different states. The rescheduling action allows for research on the safety, efficiency of the substance, and ultimately providing patients with better care and doctors with more reliable information. So this does not lead to recreational marijuana, by the way. This does not lead to recreational marijuana or the legalization of marijuana. It does not do any of that. I've been seeing some stories out there asking, hey, are we now on our way towards legalizing marijuana? Has Trump done, no. This is really about moving marijuana from it being looked at as the same as heroin, which has always been insane, but moving that to a Schedule 3 drug where it can be researched, and if researchers believe that there's a good medical part of this, then that can be expanded. Medical marijuana can be expanded in Texas and in other states, and I think that's a good thing. We have seen research that does show that there are some benefits into legal medical marijuana. There's also research showing that when it comes to recreational marijuana, that it's not the same as the marijuana from the 70s, the marijuana from the 60s and 70s, that some people look around and go, it really was nothing, just got you a little high, and it wasn't that big of a deal. Now you've got folks that say it hits you a lot harder. I don't know if that's true or not, but I've seen the research that does say that. I've seen the research that says in these states that have legalized marijuana, schools are performing much worse. I've seen the data that shows kids are not as focused when it comes to education, when it comes to reading and writing, arithmetic. They're not as focused as they once were if they're on recreational marijuana. So we've seen that. We have seen that in different studies that have been done. And, I think that the big win on this is, again, for those who are, you could say veterans, you could say just folks who, who are senior citizens who have needed help. And I think they're going to be they're going to be the first ones to benefit from this. 806-680-2790. That's 806-680-2790. If you want to sound off on this or any of the other topics that are out there. Let's see. Stephen on the app chat says, let's see. This is a good move made by Trump. If a Democrat president would have done this would have been celebrated all over the news. Trump does it, and it really gets some no news, no applause whatsoever. Of course. We've said on the show many times, Trump could walk out today and go, you know what, folks? It's been hard, but we have a cure for cancer. And the Democrats would just absolutely tear him apart. They would not be happy about it. It wasn't Obama who went through and redid the classification. It wasn't Biden. It wasn't Kamala. No, it was Trump who did it. When we come back, your phone calls, your text, and more.
The Chad Hasty Show, weekdays 5 to 7 p.m. Sound off during the show by sending Chad a text at 806-680-2790.
Heads up, Texas.
So you don't hit my car when I'm sitting at a stoplight.
Heads up, Texas.
So I can ride my bike safely.
Heads up, Texas.
So I can make it across the street without getting run over.
Heads up, Texas.
So I don't have to write you a ticket.
Heads up, Texas. Because driving and using your phone is a bad combination. Talk, text, crash. Brought to you by TxDOT.
The more you listen to your kids, the closer you'll be. So we asked kids, what do you want your parents to hear?
I feel sometimes that I'm not listened to. I would just want you to listen to me more often and evaluate situations with me and lead me towards success.
Listening is a form of love. Find resources to help you support your kids and their emotional well-being at sounditouttogether.org. That's sounditouttogether.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and Pivotal.
Headlines. The Athena Strand trial continues in Tarrant County with the defense trying to convince a jury that Tanner Horner should be kept off death row. Horner's attorneys claim he suffers from mental illness. He's already pled guilty to killing 7-year-old Athena Strand in Wise County 2022. His defense team arguing he should get life in prison. A woman from North Carolina charged with a plot to destroy a synagogue in Houston. They say Angelina Hicks conspired to, quote, kill as many Jews as possible, and she planned to drive her car through Congregation Beth Israel. The DA also says there could be others involved in the plot. Her bond is $10 million. Hemp products like smokable flour with THCA, pre-rolls, and concentrates will stay legal in Texas at least through May the 1st. A 10-year-old Harris County boy charged with murder for stabbing a 13-year-old girl to death in February in a fight between two groups at a Houston apartment parking lot. The boy's been referred to Harris County Juvenile Probation. With your Texas News headlines, I'm Barbara Schwartz.
Looking to add a compact excavator to your fleet? The Hitachi ZX35 from Masco Equipment is in stock and ready to go to work. Right now, get this powerful and versatile mini excavator for as low as $39.9, including a 12-inch bucket, 2-year, 2,000-hour factory warranty, and 0% interest for 48 months. But don't wait. This offer ends April 30th, subject to credit approval. Visit ASCOEQ.com to learn more. ASCO Equipment and Hitachi, built to perform, backed by the team you trust.
CarsForKids.org. Right off the car, not the kid.
Got an old or unused vehicle you need to get rid of? Donate it to the original CarsForKids.org. Towing is free, and you'll be helping kids in our communities. CarsForKids.org is the best vehicle donation charity impacting the lives of kids thanks to your vehicle donations. CarsForKids.org picks up vehicles in any condition, and you'll receive a $50 gift card. Don't delay. Donate today.
Lubbock's Up Plains weather forecast on this Thursday evening. The temperatures will drop overnight tonight into the lower to mid 50s. Friday morning's going to be very nice, and then the wind's going to pick up again with windy conditions and areas of patchy blowing dust and temperatures in the upper 80s. The weather is brought to you by Sonic and the new Sonic Refreshers. I'm meteorologist Ron Roberts on Lubbock's official weather station, News Talk KFYO.
Financial news on KFYO.
Test 1, 2. I'm Dan Loney with Your Money Now. Wall Street stocks were lower across the board today. The Dow Industrial Average was down 180 points, ending the session at 49,310. NASDAQ was up by 219, and the S&P 500 fell 29. West Texas crude was up 3% at $95.95 a barrel. Shareholders of Warner Brothers Discovery have approved the deal to be bought by Paramount Skydance. The deal would see Paramount pay $31 per share for all of Warner Brothers Discovery, including cable networks, movie studios, and its streaming service. Comcast beat quarterly earnings projections with per-share profit of 79 cents and revenue of $31.46 billion. That revenue number received a big boost due to a variety of sports programming, including the Winter Olympics, Super Bowl, and NBA All-Star Weekend. Revenue from its film studio and theme park divisions were both up by more than 20%. And that's Your Money Now.
I know that hiring can be challenging. You sort through tons of resumes and you get too many so-so applicants. You're just waiting for someone to match your role perfectly. Well, now, there's a place where you can meet them fast. ZipRecruiter.
Need to hire right away. Start your search for strong candidates. The right fit awaits. Build your team. Build it sooner. Meet your match on ZipRecruiter.
Just head to ZipRecruiter.com/free right now to try it for free. And you're on your way to meeting your match. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. So try it now. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Meet your match on ZipRecruiter. Try it free.
Live local talk on Sundays. Reason, Religion, and Reality. A radio project of the Constitutionalist Society, LLC. Reason, Religion, and Reality brings you a panel of constitutionally minded, liberty-loving patriots covering topics from Supreme Court decisions, government actions including curriculum in schools, and attacks on the church. Catch the shows Sunday noon to 2 on News Talk 95.1 and 790 KFYO. Listen online at KFYO.com or on the KFYO app. Reason, Religion, and Reality.
The news and talk of West Texas. News Talk 95.1 and 790 KFYO.
Don't forget about Chad. Find Chad on social media at Chad Hasty Radio on X and Instagram. It's The Chad Hasty Show.
All right, welcome back. Chad Hasty Show. Appreciate you being out there today. Now time to visit with our good friends over at the Texan.news. That's where McKenzie DiLullo is at. McKenzie, welcome back. How are you today?
I'm well, Chad. Happy Thursday.
Yeah, happy Thursday to you. And, of course, a lot of great stories over at the Texan.news today. Let's start with one of them being the Education Freedom Account funds. Lots of families excited to receive some of that money today.
Absolutely. I think a big question when, whether you call it vouchers, school choice, whatever have you, the official name, like you said, are these Education Freedom Accounts. And when these passed last legislative session, I think a lot of folks were curious, okay, how many students will this serve? What will this look like? And we're really seeing that come to light in the last few months. So the comptroller said that the first round of student awards for these Education Freedom Accounts are going to be distributed yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Okay, so this is about 43,000 families in its top priority tier. So this is directly students with disabilities and then their siblings from households earning between $165,000 or less for a family of 4. 51% of those are from households with below $66,000 a year. So, certainly serving a certain type of family in Texas. 63% of Tier 1 recipients, they have a disability, and then the remaining 37% consists of siblings who qualified through their siblings. Of these recipients, 53% attended public school, and 47% attended private school or were homeschooled, which I think is very interesting. And nearly 75% will attend private school, and roughly a quarter will homeschool. Additional families will receive these notifications for additional funds in the coming weeks. And the second priority tier consists of families or students from families with lower incomes. And the comptroller's office will hold a lottery to see who is allotted those funds. Now, the waiting list is nearly 275,000 applicants. So a lot of folks in the comptroller's office said that, of that $1 billion that was allotted, which is the largest one-year commitment for a school choice program that any state has made, it's still not enough to meet demand. So there's a significant wait list. It will be reported, and award recipients have until July 15th to either confirm their enrollment in a participating private school, choose to homeschool, or opt out, and then waitlisted students can be notified. So we'll keep an eye on what these numbers look like, but 43,000 applicants are receiving those funds right now.
So, McKenzie, do you know how exactly this works? I mean, did the comptroller's office put money into, a family's account, or are the families having to go to the schools and they run everything through the comptroller's office? How does that work?
That's a great question. So these are individual accounts that families can access. And then dole those out to the participating schools. So a lot of the process also, Chad, had to deal with schools becoming accredited for this program. So, whether it be, textbook because homeschooling, that's an entirely different ballgame here, right? So it is through approved vendors that parents and families can take these funds and apply them.
All right. And like you said, it's been very popular. I'm sure lawmakers will I'm sure they'll want to address something about this. In the upcoming session, are we hearing anything like that? Are we hearing that maybe there's going to be more money put towards this in the future?
Absolutely. I think that's been a huge topic of conversation. And even throughout last legislative session, this $1 billion was really just kind of the tip of the iceberg, which, of course, had folks who were opposed to this program very nervous. What kind of allotment would this look like? What kind of recurring expense for the state would this look like? And, of course, supporters were like, no, expand this. We need more families to have access to this kind of program. But, yes, this is always part of the process, part of the expectation is that there would be some expansion of the program. What that looks like, we will certainly have to find out.
Yeah, and then it gets back to the old the old question of how much more can the state afford when balancing public ed and obviously this new program out there, and I guess that's going to be a continued back and forth with lawmakers.
Oh, absolutely. And, Chad, we've seen a lot of years lately where we have this surplus that leaders are certainly foaming at the mouth to spend. It is a different, economic climate. Will that always be the case? Of course not. Things change. And I think there are a lot of variables going into that discussion of how much money can they set aside for future years? How can they set aside money? Does that need to be determined each legislative session where the number of families that can be, impacted by this program changes? It will be that volatile. There are so many questions about what this looks like, 2 years from now, 6 years from now. So we'll certainly be looking to lawmakers for some more information next legislative session.
All right. So what's the latest on that new World Screwworm that has everybody panicking?
Yeah, well, it certainly does. And when you have, a $15 billion industry like we do, the cattle industry here in Texas, it makes sense. So there's a new sterile fly facility that broke ground last week in South Texas, and this is part of the federal government's plan to help stop the spread of this new world Screwworm. This was a groundbreaking that had Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins and Senator John Cornyn there. Rollins said this is protecting livelihoods. It's about securing our supply chain. Now, for those who have not heard, this is a parasitic fly that produces flesh-eating larvae and mainly affects pets and livestock. It had been eradicated in the U.S. back in the 60s, but it kind of has been making its way closer and closer to the Texas border from Latin America and is now in Mexico. Now, this facility specifically will produce up to 300 million sterile flies per week, which are intended to mate with these New World Screwworm to slow the reproduction. This is in part due to, again, they're getting closer and closer to the U.S. border, but these efforts to stop the spread has included traps along the southern border, testing around 50,000 specimens, and suspending livestock imports that are classified as high risk. So lots going on here to combat the approach here. The flies will reportedly have a fluorescent color under UV lights, which is wild, so it'll be obvious which flies are sterile. In February, there was a horse in Florida at a quarantine facility that tested positive for New World Screwworm larvae. In April, there was a case detected about 90 miles south of the Texas-Mexico border. Of course, this is a big topic of conversation in the Agriculture Commissioner's race, in which Nate Sheets unseated Sid Miller. So lots going on here. But I encourage folks to go read the full story at the Texan.news to get the full picture.
There's just something about the state, or I guess the federal government. We're building a hotel basically for flies. That way they can mate with the screwworm, and they turn a fluorescent color. I don't know what it is. It's just kind of, there's got to be a movie about that somewhere. Sometime, I don't know. But that's what we've come up with is, hey, y'all get it on and try not to hurt any animals if you can. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a wild. This is a story you read, and each sentence is more, wild than the last. It's really quite the effort here that's being done. And I don't, argue the drama between state leaders on this issue is incredibly fascinating, right? We have state leaders opting for different approaches, specifically Agriculture Commissioner Sid Miller. Other state leaders really going to bat and saying, hey, we need somebody else in this position because he's not on board with what the federal government is doing. Wild. So, and certainly, again, a huge industry in Texas. Yeah. So, very much worth keeping an eye on. And it is a huge, huge story.
Finally, another story that's out there. Research announcement coming weeks after Texas leaders tout a $50 million investment.
Yes, the president signed an order over the weekend accelerating the review process of certain psychedelic drugs, namely Ibogaine, that we're really talking about here. This was a finding where RFK was there, Joe Rogan was there, Congressman Morgan Luttrell from Texas, and former Navy SEAL, his brother, Marcus Luttrell. And Trump announced that the U.S. would be investing $50 million into states participating in Ibogaine research. Now, 2 weeks ago, the lieutenant governor and the Speaker of the House announced Texas has its own $50 million investment in Ibogaine research. This is a plant-based psychoactive compound found in Central African shrub, wild. But it's been reported to be effective in treating those suffering from PTSD, addiction, traumatic brain injury. Traumatic brain injury is the leading cause of PTSD among veterans. So a big issue, and certainly one we'll keep an eye on, but wild to watch that announcement happen, 2 weeks before we heard from state leaders, and then here we see the president making moves on the issue.
Yeah. All right. What else can people find over at the Texan.news?
I'm sure folks have seen back and forth about, local city councils and big cities, Houston, Dallas, Austin, and ICE, and how the police and ICE should be coordinating. Governor Abbott getting in on the issue. We have all that and more at the Texan.news. A lot of reporting from Holly Hansen. It's a lot of back and forth. I'd encourage folks to go check that out.
Yeah, very good. As always, McKenzie, appreciate your time. Folks, visit the Texan.news. I visit, throughout the day, every day. It's a great website to check out. McKenzie, thanks for your time.
Thank you, Chad.
Thank you. Well, when we come back, your phone calls, your text, and more.
The Chad Hasty Show can be heard all over West Texas. Weekdays from 5 to 7 p.m. Tune into News Talk 95.1 and 790 KFYO in Lubbock. News Talk 940 in Amarillo. News Talk 94.7 and 1470 KYYW in Abilene. And in Wichita Falls on News Talk 96.3 and 1290. The Chad Hasty Show. Make it a part of your drive home. Weekdays from 5 to 7 p.m.
Nick, this is your phone here in the passenger seat. Look at me.
No, I'm driving.
You got a text. It says, "Yo, dude, your friends are fascinating. Let's text them back."
It can wait.
Sports app. Oh, you gotta see this play.
Later.
Hey, you got invited to a party. We need a RSVP now.
Phone, silence yourself.
Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Talk, text, crash. A message from TxDOT.
Bill Cunningham here, The Great American. Every Sunday night, we review the week that was and prepare for the week ahead. Whether it's politics, lifestyle issues, or economy or immigration, let you and I confront all the issues. It happens every Sunday night with The Great American, Bill Cunningham.
Bill Cunningham, Sunday nights at 9 on News Talk KFYO.
I'm Gianna Gelosi with your Fox True Crime Minute. The wife of Gilgo Beach serial killer Rex Heuermann making a new confession in a documentary about her husband's crimes. In a teaser clip for the final episode of the Gilgo Beach Killer House of Secrets, Asa Ellerup says Heuermann admitted he killed all but one of his 8 victims in their Long Island home. Heuermann had been charged with 7 murders ahead of his April 8th guilty plea, admitting to killing Karen Vergata in 1996, despite not being charged in the case. Ellerup said Heuermann told her she wasn't home at the time of the killings before her lawyer asked if any were murdered in their Massapequa Park home on New York's Long Island. Ellerup says Heuermann said yes, they were killed in his room downstairs. The former architect admitted to dismembering some of the women and tying them in burlap. Heuermann strangled the women, many of them sex workers, over a 17-year span and buried their remains in remote locations across Long Island. He's going to be sentenced on June 17th. There's more on the story at foxnews.com or subscribe to the Fox True Crime Podcast. I'm Gianna Gelosi with your Fox True Crime Minute.
Mark Levin, weeknights at 7 p.m. on KFYO. Back on the Chad Hasty Show. Thank you for tuning in today. You can, of course, send in your thoughts on the text line at 806-680-2790. This is how the Texas Tribune, Texas's foster care system is more likely to move children away from their communities. Of course, depends on the exact area you're talking about here. But in 2017, Texas lawmakers offloaded foster care services to private companies on the promise that these contractors would keep foster children closer to home and send them onto a better future. Today, state and its contractors are more likely to move foster children out of their communities. 1 in 3 children placed in foster care is sent to a different region, sometimes hundreds of miles away, according to a Tribune analysis of state data. Quote, community-based care contracts say the contractor was supposed to keep children within a 50-mile radius of the home, said Vicki Spriggs, chief executive of Texas CASA. But the Association for Advocates and the court appoints to children in abuse cases, based on what we're hearing from local CASA programs, that's not happening. Despite the state's efforts to dramatically reduce the number of Texas children moved into foster care, the state and its contractors say they must move a higher percentage of foster kids out of their communities, and they're seeing a far more traumatized child than ever before, requiring some intensive hospitalization and monitoring that certain parts of the state are better equipped to handle. Meanwhile, child welfare Workers Union. Some foster care advocates say the privatization of foster care has not done enough to build more treatment facilities or recruit more foster parents to care for more highly acutely children across the state. About 54% of the state's 16,000 foster care children are located in 10 of the state's 16 foster care regions served by a private contractor. So, being, as many of you know, my wife and I were foster care parents, and we have been for the last almost 8 months now. And, oh boy, there's a lot of stories I could get into. There's a lot of stories I could tell. I think that the state has done some things where they've wanted to reduce the number of children who are in big facilities, who are sleeping in offices. And it's horrible to hear about kids sleeping in offices and kids sleeping, in places that are not meant to be, bedrooms or homes or anything like that. It's horrible to hear it. But these are also kids who are coming from really, really, really bad places. And I think the state at times has gotten in the way of itself. And I also think there's this, the lack of foster families who are out there. I think there is a there is a lot of unknowns and a lot of people who have questions about being foster parents that they just don't know about, and they don't know where to get answers, and they have so many questions about the entire program. There are some people who believe that you have to adopt. If you're a foster parent, you have to adopt. You don't. You can just be a foster family where you take in a kid for a few months and then the kid leaves. Now, is it always that simple? No. It's not always that simple. Boy, there's a lot of paperwork involved. Oh, there's a lot of paperwork involved. But if anyone out there ever does have a question about fostering, feel free to reach out to me. Again, we're gonna talk more just about fostering with foster groups and everything else throughout the year. But these are just their kids, and they deserve a good home. They deserve a place where they feel protected and safe. And I believe that a lot of us are called to provide that for them. We'll be right back.
The Chad Hasty Show, a presentation of Texas Town Square Media Network. The views and opinions expressed during the Chad Hasty Show are not necessarily the views of this station's staff, management, advertisers, or Town Square Media.
The Fox News Sunday with Shannon Bream. Every Sunday evening from 5 to 6 p.m. right here on News Talk KFYO.
Nationwide news with a Texas twist. News Talk 95.1 FM and 790 AM. KFYO Lubbock.
It's 6 o'clock in Texas.
He's in no rush. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. President Trump says he won't be pressured into making a deal with Iran during the current ceasefire, but he says one thing is certain.
You cannot give Iran a nuclear weapon. This is all about a nuclear weapon. They cannot have the nuclear bomb, and they're not going to have the nuclear bomb.
The president says the U.S. naval blockade is hurting Iran's economy, and the president announcing progress in talks between Israel and Lebanon.
The president of Lebanon and the prime minister of Israel over the next couple of weeks will be coming here. They've agreed to an additional 3 weeks of no firing, ceasefire.
The initial 10-day ceasefire had been said to expire on Monday, and he says the U.S. will work with Lebanon to help protect it from Hezbollah. And President Trump says he's considering a taxpayer-funded takeover of Spirit Airlines, which is facing bankruptcy, with the intention of reselling it after oil prices drop.
I'd love to be able to save those jobs. I'd love to be able to save an airline. I like having a lot of airlines, so it's competitive.
But some lawmakers and Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy have voiced skepticism about the government stepping in. 5 people under arrest after a shooting in the food court at the Mall of Louisiana in Baton Rouge. Police Chief T.J. Morse.
To correct some information that was put out earlier, we have 5 victims at one area local hospital, one of which right now we can confirm is deceased. 1 is in surgery, and 3 have minor injuries. We have another victim at a different area hospital with very minor injuries.
Chief Morris said the shooting began after an argument inside the food court, and there is no threat to the public. A U.S. soldier has been charged with using inside information to win $400,000 in an online betting market on the capture of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. The Justice Department says Gannon Ken Van Dyke used his access to classified information to make money on the prediction market Polymarket. America's listening to Fox News.
The Chad Hasty Show.
This is Ted Cruz, and you can listen to Verdict with Ted Cruz every Sunday at 11 on KFYO. Tune in as Ben Ferguson and I go behind the scenes on political debates and government decisions that define our country. It's Verdict with Ted Cruz, Sundays from 11 to noon, right here on News Talk 95.1 and 790 KFYO.
Sunrise LBK with Tom Collins and Matt Crow tomorrow morning at 6 on KFYO.
Your Lubbock South Plains weather forecast on this Thursday evening. The temperatures will drop overnight tonight into the lower to mid 50s. Friday morning's going to be very nice, and then the wind's going to pick up again with windy conditions and areas of patchy blowing dust and temperatures in the upper 80s. The weather is brought to you by Sonic and the new Sonic Refreshers. I'm meteorologist Ron Roberts on Lubbock's official weather station, News Talk KFYO.
Broadcasting from the great state of Texas, news and views with a Lone Star perspective. You can sound off during the show by sending Chad a text at 806-680-2790. That's 806-680-2790. Or call in at 1-800-687-0790. Now, here's Chad Hasty.
All right, welcome back to the Chad Hasty Show. Appreciate you being out there today. You can send in your thoughts on the text line at 806-680-2790. You know, it's always political season. And involved in one of the big runoff campaigns out there in that it's a brand new redrawn district of Texas's 9th congressional district. You've got a big runoff with State Rep Briscoe Cain involved, and of course we've always kept up with what Briscoe Cain has done in the Texas State House. Now he's trying to get elected to Congress, and now he's joining us here on the Chad Hasty Show to talk about his runoff campaign. And welcome back to the show, sir. How are you doing today?
Howdy, Chad Hasty. Man, I'm fabulous. You know, we would get a lot of rains down here. Of course, there's some other parts of the state, like where you guys are located, they probably use it more than us. But when it's raining, it's good for our people.
Yeah, we'll take just a little bit. Just send a little bit up here, and we'll take it. Hey, how's the? Again, I know there's kind of a little bit of a lull sometimes in these congressional races before things really get picking back up and moving. What is your strategy? Are you out there still campaigning? Are you hitting the ground hard? What are you doing as far as campaign wise?
So, look, Washington insiders and California-led special interests spent millions on dishonest attack ads trying to buy this seat, but they failed. They threw everything at us, including a late endorsement based on bad data, and we still gained. I'm the only candidate with an existing proven voter base in this exact geography that will decide the runoff. Right? I carried my overlapping House district, demonstrating strong support amongst voters here. I think that provides us a clear base, right? As you may know, runoffs favor the grassroots candidates, just like incumbents are in trouble in runoffs. And, this campaign's never been about big money or political insider. It's always been about the people of this district, right? Actually, I live here. I'd say that this district is not some trophy for some outside California person. This is my home. This is my people. Spent 38 of my 41 years on this earth inside this district boundaries. Live here, grew up here. My parents worked here. This is where my family's from.
And so, what is your message to voters now? Why do they need to send you to Congress instead of your opponent?
Mm-hmm. But voters now have the opportunity to choose between me, a Congressional District 9 native with a proven record of fighting for America First values, and California Mueller, a hand-picked candidate, D.C. swamp, who moved from California just to chase a seat. Right, this race is Texas versus D.C. now, and I'm confident we can win. We've got a proven track record. The only candidate, of course, has any legislative experience who's done the things that other candidates are talking about, right? When some can say they support border security, well, as you know, my record, we've been in the legislature, co-authored and passed the bills that are doing those exact things. Same thing we talk about wanting to make life more affordable. Those are things we've worked on in the legislature in Texas, done everything we can. Of course, some of the rest of those things are up to D.C. So we just we got to get the message out there and also, tell people about who my California opponent really is.
So your opponent did get the endorsement of Trump. How does that calculate into and if you would have been running, I guess, for re-election in the House, you would have gotten the endorsement of Trump too.
Of course, we did have that election. We did have that endorsement for re-election. Yeah.
Yeah, and so you had that, but she, I guess, got the endorsement for this race. I mean, for those who are the ultimate, Trump supporters out there, who pay attention to, hey, whoever Trump endorses, I'm going to go with that person. What's your message to them?
Mm-hmm. Well, look, I think that endorsement was based on bad data. That they didn't know who she really was, and maybe that's our fault. We didn't discuss it. I tried to, just keep my head above things. There were 9 candidates in the race, and I knew we'd be headed into a runoff where we'd have plenty of opportunity to set the record straight. So over the next several weeks, as we continue, as we've been doing now, we've been pointing those things out. And so we'll continue to inform the electorate, right? That's why, of course, Governor Greg Abbott is supporting me, as well as the Speaker and a majority of my House colleagues. And so have the organizations, right? I'm the only non-incumbent endorsed by the National Rifle Association, the Texas Right to Life. The list goes on, right? The cattle raisers and beef feeders and all the things that people care about, right?
Yeah. So what are your priorities if elected in a Congress?
Mm-hmm. Well, the priorities will be the things that we've been working on here to show that why the Texas Miracle works and bring that to D.C. Of course, one of the top things in people's minds right now is stopping Sharia law and the Islamization of Texas. Those are things I've worked on in the legislature, ensuring that American law is only in American courts. We've passed things to ensure that Epic City is no longer a reality. In fact, I've advocated for bulldozing that place. Similarly, the things on affordability that we've been able to do in Texas, like trying to reduce the cost of housing. You'll see, for example, in Austin, I believe their apartment prices are at like a 10-year low from legislation we've done here. And that's also benefiting folks here in my district where I grew up. Of course, protecting the oil and gas industry obviously is huge. This district covers the Houston Ship Channel. I grew up a mile and a half from the front gate of Shell here in the district, right next to the shadow of the San Jacinto Monument. The parents who worked in these refineries have been an advocate for it for a decade, and of course supported by Oil and Gas Workers of America and folks like that, showing that I understand what needs to be done to keep the port healthy and oil and gas moving.
Yeah. What about data centers? Are you hearing from anybody when you're out campaigning? Are they worried about the future of data centers? What is your position on them?
There's been a small amount of talk down there for it. Of course, our area has hurricanes and higher rate of humidity, and the land's not as cheap as some other areas where they're putting data centers. My understanding is, some of those concerns are going to be solving themselves. They're already starting to convert over to kind of closed loop for water consumption, and we've got the modular kind of the nuclear technology coming out, where you'll see that for the small modular reactors, your SMRs that they'll be attached to, so it's not competing with our energy prices, and so those things are coming out. And I think the market's going to solve it. And certainly, I support those things need to be done so that it's not competing for water or electricity prices with our constituents.
Visiting with Briscoe Cain. He's running for that newly redrawn Texas 9th Congressional District. Briscoe, what do you think the future of the Republican Party is going to look like? I mean, it's, hopefully Republicans keep the House, but boy, things aren't looking good. You base it off of history, things aren't looking good. But, you've got just these midterms and then the after Trump, because at some point, there is going to be the after-Trump Republican Party, the post-Trump Republican Party. Is that going to be just a battle, an all-out battle for the soul of the party at that point?
Well, I think we will certainly see a big fight for it. Now, this will also be up to voters, right, to be smart and nominate candidates who have a history of winning elections. Right, I've won election after election after election, whether that's primary in November, and we need to be smart about that as well. So we're putting the right candidates in the ballot to help go up against the Democrats in November. Now, for the future of us, I think it's certainly got to look young, and I've been really encouraged to see the amount of young people really kind of returning to the church and starting to kind of find conservatism. I think there's a bright light, and I'm very hopeful for the future of America. I think those folks will continue to find themselves welcome in the Republican Party. We're this party of opportunity, of letting people live their lives and be free, and to make great decisions and kind of put more money in their accounts so they can buy houses and find great work. Yeah.
Briscoe Cain, where can people find more information about you and your campaign as we get into the runoff?
Mm-hmm. There you go. Well, if you want to support true Texas conservatives, you can find us online at BriscoeCain.com or on all social medias. Briscoe Cain, my name spelled BriscoeCain.
All right, very good. Briscoe, as always, appreciate you joining us today, and best of luck in the future.
God bless you, Chad Hasty.
Thank you. That's Briscoe Cain running for that Texas 9th congressional seat in the Republican primary. We'll be right back.
The Titan of Texas Talk Radio, The Chad Hasty Show.
Talking with newsmakers and about the issues that matter to you. The Chad Hasty Show, weekdays from 5 to 7 p.m. Chad's show is also digital with the Chad Hasty Show podcast. The Chad Hasty Show podcast can be downloaded on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, and the Radio On Demand page on KFYO.com. The Chad Hasty Show, all across Texas during your drive home, weekdays from 5 to 7 p.m.
How serious is youth vaping? Irreversible lung damage serious. 1 in 10 kids vape serious, which warrants a serious conversation from a serious parental figure like yourself. Not the seriously know-it-all sports dad or the seriously smart podcaster. It requires a serious conversation that is best had by you. No, seriously, the best person to talk to your child about vaping is you. To start the conversation, visit talkaboutvaping.org. Brought to you by the American Lung Association and the Ad Council.
This is Shannon Bream. Join me for Fox News Sunday as we sit down with a diverse and dynamic group of guests featuring interviews with political, business, and public affairs newsmakers from the U.S. and abroad. All part of the Sunday political block from Fox News Radio. Fox News Sunday.
Every Sunday evening from 5 to 6, right here on your home for the news and talk of West Texas. News Talk 95.1 FM and 790 AM KFYO.
Don't miss the weekend with me, Michael Brown, every Saturday evening from 7 to 10 on the station bringing you the news and talk of West Texas for over 97 years. News Talk 95.1 and 790 KFYO.
Back on the Chad Hasty Show. Thanks again to Briscoe Cain for giving us a call. Appreciate him being out there. Let's see. How about this out of the USA Today? Young voters squeezed by economy and distrust political systems in new poll. A new national poll found the country's youngest eligible voters are heading into the 2026 midterm election burdened by deep economic anxiety and grappling with a growing belief they are unable to effect any change. The Harvard Youth Poll, conducted among 18 to 29-year-olds by the way, these folks don't vote, particularly in midterm elections, these folks don't vote. And so, what they, it doesn't mean what they're saying doesn't matter, but, if you don't, these folks who, get out there and say, oh, well, we don't feel like we're affecting any change. Well, are you voting? No? Okay, there you go. Anyway. It concluded the economic pressures defining concern for young Americans, a sentiment reflected in the months of national polls that surveyed voters across age groups who have similarly identified cost of living concerns, economic mobility, and inflation as their North Star issues. Now, I do believe this, that across most age groups, I believe the economy is going to be the number one issue. I think it's going to be number one, by and far, the number one issue of the day. Now, things can still change, but I think in a midterm election, people are going to be thinking with their wallets. They're going to be thinking with their bank accounts, how much they're paying when they go to the grocery store, how much they're paying when they go and fill up with a tank of gas. I think those are the things that are going to concern people, and that's why it's not real. In my opinion, it's not looking good for the Trump administration, for Republicans, because those things just aren't looking good for Republicans overall. Does that mean Democrats are going to be any better at this? No. And in fact, I've got a story that we'll get to after the bottom of the hour that shows Democrats really aren't that. Even though they're in a better position than Republicans, they may not want to count all their eggs yet. I mean, we've heard from voters out there who say, yeah, they're pretty ticked at Trump. They're pretty ticked at Trump. They're pretty upset with the Republicans, but that doesn't mean they trust the Democrats. It doesn't mean they're ready to get back in bed with the Democrats. It's because people know the Democrats are crazy. Roughly half of young Americans say they're affected a lot by inflation. 45% say they are struggling to make ends meet. Over the last 5 years, fewer young Americans believe they will be better off financially than their parents. In 2021, 38% so they expect to be better off than their parents. In the recent poll, only 29% said that. Among young voters, specifically, the Harvard poll identified several trends. Chief among them, a plummeting sense of trust in leadership and in the existing political system. These attitudes can have a significant impact on the upcoming midterm elections, which voter enthusiasm and turnout, particularly among the nation's young voters could potentially turn the tide. Again, young voters don't typically vote in midterm elections. If they do, they lean Democrat anyway. We know that. We've seen that in the past. That's nothing new. It is, we see that in these polling numbers that are coming out, young Americans are frustrated. Well, Americans are frustrated overall. But you go up to some of these younger voters and ask them, how did you feel about, paying gas prices under Joe Biden? And they don't remember that. No one remembers how much we were paying under Joe. But because it's connected to the war in Iran and everything else, people start getting mad. And we're not even close to where we were. This idea of, Trump wanted no more wars. He didn't want any more wars. He didn't want to get into any more forever wars. There's no proof that he's going to. None. There's been no proof that that's going to happen. Even with, ratcheting up some of the commentary and everything else, there's been no proof that Trump is going to spend or commit the U.S. spending the next decade or two in the Middle East. And there's a reason for that. Because Trump doesn't want to do it. He doesn't want to be in the Middle East for that long. He doesn't want to commit to being there. 806-680-2790. That's 806-680-2790. You can send in your thoughts on the text line and weigh on any of the topics that you'd like to get into. Let's see. Young Americans, speaking of the young Americans, are trying a digital detox. Yeah, I'll buy it. Getting around without a Google map, no longer scrolling Instagram at the bus stop, ditching your headphones to hear the birds sing. In March, a group of 20 and 30-somethings in the U.S. Capitol swapped their smartphones for basic flip phones and embarked on a 1-month digital detox, part of an emerging movement of young Americans seeking to break free from the harmful effects of social media. Okay, so they were part of two groups who had agreed to do this. Yeah, I don't think there's a trend of people willing to give up their smartphone. Not young people who are willing to give up their smartphone. I don't think that's happening. But I think it's a good idea. I'll tell you, vacations are great when you can just put your phone aside and you don't have to worry about a thing. You don't have to worry about scrolling and seeing what's happening with anybody. When you don't have to check your email, it's so nice. Of course, then you get back from vacation and you've got 400 emails. But other than that, it's pretty nice. When we come back, we've got AI workers getting laid off. Uh-oh. We got that to get into. Other news of the day as well. You're on the Chad AC Show.
Call in to the Chad Hasty Show at 1-800-687-0790. The Chad Hasty Show, broadcasting on the Texas Town Square Media Network.
When you see a car that's been in a bad crash, it's no accident. When it backs traffic up for miles, no accident. And if there's a fatality involved, somebody died. That's no accident either. A lot of the time, it was speeding. And it's no accident that speeding is a factor in more than 150,000 crashes every year in Texas, many of them fatal. So slow down, be safe, drive smart. A message from TxDOT.
I always had to be so good, no one could ignore me. Carve my path with data and drive. But some people only see who I am on paper. The paper ceiling, the limitations from degree screens to stereotypes that are holding back over 70 million stars. Workers skilled through alternative routes rather than a bachelor's degree. It's time for skills to speak for themselves. Find resources for breaking through barriers at tearthepaperceiling.org. Brought to you by Opportunity at Work and the Ad Council.
DSN headlines: the defense in the Athena Strand trial trying to convince a Fort Worth jury that Tanner Horner should be kept off of death row. Horner's attorneys claims he suffers from mental illness. Horner has already pled guilty to killing 7-year-old Athena Strand in Wise County in 2022. His defense team is arguing he should get life in prison with no parole. Prosecutors say 3 people planned an attack on a synagogue in Houston. 18-year-old Angelina Hicks of Lexington, North Carolina, is behind bars on charges of conspiring to commit murder and assault. Prosecutors say Hicks conspired with 2 other suspects to quote-unquote kill as many Jews as possible. Hemp products like smokable flour with THCA pre-rolls and concentrates are legal in Texas through at least May 1st. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton suing several major streaming services over a potential bribery scheme. He's launched an investigation to Apple Music, Spotify, Pandora, and YouTube over alleged payola schemes. With your Texas news headlines, I'm Barbara Schwartz.
The rental team at ASCO is ready to help you find the right equipment to do the job. For over 65 years, we've dedicated ourselves to supporting you with fast service and reliable equipment. Choose from daily, weekly, or long-term rental options to fit your project's needs. Buy it, rent it, support it. We're on it at ASCO Equipment. Visit ASCOEQ.com for your next equipment rental. That's ASCOEQ.com.
You're losing your hair, and you want a simple solution guaranteed to work. Guys, you need Advanced Hair. Advanced Hair's quick, one-day treatment is offered in a calm, relaxed environment. With top-rated physicians and modern technology, your own natural hair begins to regrow the very next day, and Advanced Hair guarantees it will grow. So schedule your free consultation for $250 off and 250 free hair grafts. 469-599-HAIR or advancedhair.com.
Your Lubbock South Plains weather forecast on this Thursday evening. The temperatures will drop overnight tonight into the lower to mid 50s. Friday morning's going to be very nice, and then the wind's going to pick up again with windy conditions and areas of patchy blowing dust and temperatures in the upper 80s. The weather is brought to you by Sonic and the new Sonic Refreshers. I'm meteorologist Ron Roberts on Lubbock's official weather station, News Talk KFYO.
I'm Boomer Esiason. My mom died from cancer. She was only 37 years old. She didn't have life insurance, and that was devastating for my family. That's why having life insurance is so important to me. Ethos makes it fast and easy. Get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. You can get up to $3 million in coverage with no medical exam.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/save. That's ethos.com/save. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
Securing America.
A Wednesday House Armed Services Committee hearing discussed national security challenges in the Indo-Pacific and on the Korean Peninsula. Admiral Samuel Paparo is the commander of the U.S. Indo-Pacific Command. He called that area
the defining strategic theater in the 21st century.
John No is the Assistant Secretary of War for Indo-Pacific Security Affairs.
The Department of War will deter China through strength, not confrontation.
No testified the goal is to
ensure that neither China nor anyone else can dominate us or our allies.
Alabama Republican Congressman Mike Rogers warned against discounting North Korea's military progress.
North Korea's advancing cyber, nuclear, and missile arsenals threaten both South Korea and the U.S. homeland.
Rogers also cited the increasing cooperation between China, North Korea, Iran, and Russia. Kevin Uretsky, Fox News.
Empowering West Texas with news that matters. News Talk 95.1 FM, 790 AM, KFYO.
From the Panhandle to the South Plains to the Big Country, it's the Chad Hasty Show.
All right, welcome back to the Chad Hasty Show. Appreciate you being out there today. Of course, tomorrow, an Open Line Friday. Looking forward to that conversation. Looking forward just to the weekend. Of course, it's going to be a big weekend around here as the king of country music. You've got George Strait, who's going to be performing in Lubbock on Friday and Saturday, and that means traffic is going to be all over the place. I read a report that hotels are basically sold out, which, I mean, that doesn't surprise me. But you've got hotels that are sold out. You've got restaurants that are in the immediate area, which there aren't. I mean, there are some fast food places, but there aren't. I mean, I guess there are a couple of sit-down restaurants in the immediate area over near Texas Tech. But then you look at if you're going anywhere, the good news is here you go. You'll like this. If like around 8 o'clock, 6 to 8 o'clock, you should be pretty good. You should be pretty good driving around and finding a place to go and eat. That being said, there's still going to be a lot of people in town because you've got a concert on Friday night and a concert on Saturday. So you're going to have a lot of extra people who are going to be in town and going to our restaurants and staying at the hotels and doing all that kind of good stuff. And there's just it's, again, the area around Tech will be busy, but obviously, around town will be busy as well. And so it's going to be one of those weekends where you got a lot of folks from out of town who are visiting Lubbock, maybe for the first time, maybe for the 10th time they're coming out here. Maybe they were graduates of Texas Tech, and they're coming back out here to listen to a little George Strait out at the Jones AT&T Stadium. And I wish, honestly, Jones Stadium would have more of these big concerts because, again, it's in my opinion, an underutilized area for Texas Tech is having these big concerts out at the stadium. And I know they want to protect the field turf and they want to protect this and that. I get it, but it's a decent-sized venue, and it looks like it'll be pretty nice. And obviously it's going to attract a lot of people this Friday and Saturday over at Jones AT&T Stadium. So that'll be something to watch for. And, of course, for some people, they'll just use the weekend to stay home, get caught up to date on everything, and then they'll be back to the weekly grind on Monday. Hey, speaking of the weekly grind, stories, there's a few of these stories that are out there today regarding AI and some of the layoffs that they're here. We've been talking about these layoffs and what it's going to look like, what some of the future future jobs and future layoffs are going to look like. And it's not just the burger flippers that are going to get laid off. We're talking some of the white collar workers who are out there. Meta laid off 10% of its entire staff. Meta says that the AI will be able to better write code, and that it's also writing better stories and better things for its online products. And so that's what we're going to see more of on Meta, known as Facebook, is that it's all being done by AI. So everything that you want to complain about when it comes to Facebook, they'll just look at you and say, sorry, that's not a real human being. We'll send that up the food chain. And nothing ever happens. You're going to see so much of this as we progress through the artificial intelligence takeover of these jobs where they're going to say, hey, look, there's not a human being that we can blame. There's not a human being we can fire or get rid of. Or, they used to have a little bit of a nice feeling, I guess, if you walked away knowing that employee was going to get a talking to, right? Like if you knew somebody had screwed up your order, they had screwed up your particular thing, they were going to get a talking to. And that's not going to happen anymore with AI. Instead, what are they going to do? They're probably just going to reinforce into AI, do what I say, do what I say, do what I say. And that's really about it. What else can you do with the computers out there? But yeah, Meta today announcing layoffs, but they're not the only ones. Meta laying off 10% of its entire workforce. Microsoft will be offering retirement buyouts to over 8,700 workers for the first time. So, and again, the people who are being offered early retirement, they're being offered a buyout. These are folks who are in code. They have done writing before on the website, and they're being told, adios, see you later, you're done. Nike looking at cutting about 1,400 jobs in the next year. So this is kind of where we're heading to. And a lot of these you would think, okay, well, are they intro level jobs? Are they harder jobs? What are they? They're the, pardon me, getting choked up here. They're the type of jobs that we were telling college kids you need to go and study. About 10 years ago, we were telling college kids, understand computer science, understand engineering, understand all this stuff, so you can go in and compete in the tech world. And those kids, and they're still, a lot of them are still probably kids who are living in that world, who are about to wake up and not have a job anymore. And so that's kind of the future that we're looking at. It's not just the frontline guy. It's not just the high school kid who's working the front line and being told, okay, well, if you like that burger, you can keep the burger. What do you want to do? What do you want to do with your life if you're not working at McDonald's or wherever it may be? What is still good for you and for your family? And so that's what a lot of people have worries about when it comes to AI, is that we're not going to be able to replace all of these jobs. In the past we would say, okay, fine, we're not going to take your jobs. We're not going to come in and ruin anything for you. We're not going to do that. You're going to have training for other jobs. You're going to have training for other skill sets. And now that's not even being said. I do think some will get that, but overall, you're still not getting that from a lot of lawmakers out there. And then what is next? After AI takes your job, what do you really feel secure about when you're re-entering the workforce and you had felt pretty good about where your job was heading? 806-680-2790. That's 806-680-2790. When we come back, your phone calls, your text, and more on the Chad Hasty Show.
The Chad Hasty Show can be heard all over West Texas. Weekdays from 5 to 7 p.m. Tune into News Talk 95.1 and 790 KFYO in Lubbock. News Talk 940 in Amarillo. News Talk 94.7 and 1470 KYYW in Abilene. And in Wichita Falls on News Talk 96.3 and 1290. The Chad Hasty Show. Make it a part of your drive home. Weekdays from 5 to 7 p.m.
You took the first step and quit smoking, but even former smokers may still be at risk for lung cancer. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know about a new low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early. It takes only 60 seconds and could save your life. You took the first step, now take the next. Visit SaveByTheScan.org for a simple quiz to see if you're eligible and talk to your doctor about screening. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
Live local talk on Sundays. Reason, Religion, and Reality, a radio project of the Constitutionalist Society, LLC. Reason, Religion, and Reality brings you a panel of constitutionally minded, liberty-loving patriots covering topics from Supreme Court decisions, government actions including curriculum in schools, and attacks on the church. Catch the shows Sunday noon to 2 on News Talk 95.1 and 790 KFYO. Listen online at KFYO.com or on the KFYO app. Reason, Religion, and Reality.
Add the KFYO text line to your contacts and voice your opinion during our local shows. 806-680-2790. That's 806-680-2790. News Talk 95.1 and 790. And on the KFYO app.
I'm Gianna Gelosi with your Fox True Crime Minute. The wife of Gilgo Beach serial killer Rex Heuermann making a new confession in a documentary about her husband's crimes. In a teaser clip for the final episode of the Gilgo Beach Killer House of Secrets, Asa Ellerup says Heuermann admitted he killed all but one of his 8 victims in their Long Island home. Heuermann had been charged with 7 murders ahead of his April 8th guilty plea, admitting to killing Karen Vergata in 1996, despite not being charged in the case. Ellerup said Heuermann told her she wasn't home at the time of the killings before her lawyer asked if any were murdered in their Massapequa Park home on New York's Long Island. Ellerup says Heuermann said yes, they were killed in his room downstairs. The former architect admitted to dismembering some of the women and tying them in burlap. Heuermann strangled women, many of them sex workers, over a 17-year span and buried their remains in remote locations across Long Island. He's going to be sentenced on June 17th. There's more on the story at foxnews.com or subscribe to the Fox True Crime Podcast. I'm Gianna Gelosi with your Fox True Crime Minute.
This is George Norrie, and you're listening to News Talk KFYO.
Welcome back to the Chad Hasty Show. Final hour of the program today. And, of course, I want to thank everybody for tuning in today. Don't forget about the Chad Hasty Show podcast available right after the show ends. It'll be available. It's sent out to your personal Apple Podcast, Spotify playlist. So that way you have it whenever you are ready to play. Let's see. As we begin the final segment of the program today, and there's been quite a few different stories that I want to get into. How about this? This out of a new study. Nearly 2 in 5 Americans went with no contact with a loved one this year. Avoidance is the new American default, and it's making everyone lonelier. 38% of Americans went with no contact with a friend or family member in the past year. Gen Z, 60%, far outpacing baby boomers at 20% and cutting people off. 43% of respondents 73% said their instinct during COVID's relationship trouble was to make sure or just pull away rather than talk it through, because avoidance had become a default response to conflict. Once ties are severed, they tend to stay that way. 59% of those who went with no contact during the past year are still not in touch with the person who you lived or who you would talk to before you cut them off. So again, think about that. 59% of those who went with no contact in the past year still not in touch with the person that they cut off. That's a lot. That's sad. We're not supposed to live that way, folks. And I know I talked about this during COVID, and I pounded on the desk about it. This is not the way it's supposed to be. We're supposed to be talking to each other. We're supposed to be in discussion and debate. We're supposed to have debate. We're supposed to talk about what makes us happy as a people of the country, and what makes us sad about a people of this country. We're supposed to talk about that. We're supposed to get together. We're supposed to go out on a Friday night. We're supposed to go out on a Saturday. We're supposed to be at each other's homes. This pullback from seeing each other, this pullback from seeing anybody is, in my opinion, just going to make society worse. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to go out every single weekend and party and hang out with family and friends. No. Doesn't mean you have to do that every single day. Doesn't mean you have to go out there and be personable. I know there are a lot of folks out there who they don't want to be personable. They don't they don't want to just fit into a crowd and go out, and they're exhausted after they may do something like that. I get it. I understand that. But we should all try a little bit more. You know, I look at some of these studies that come out. It shows a growing number of Americans deciding that they're done with the friend who never apologizes, done with a family member whose phone calls leave them drained, done with the group chat that feels more like an obligation than a connection. According to a new survey released by Mental Health Americans Month, 38% of Americans have gone with no contact with a friend or family member in the past year, cutting off communication entirely rather than working through whatever went wrong. I have lost friends. I know I've lost friends, and even some family members who probably didn't want to say anything to me ever again, especially once I got real into talk radio. To me, that's a sad thing. To me, it's a sad thing when you see people who don't want to have a discussion with family members or friends, and they get upset to the point where they're going to cut somebody off just because of the politics that may be at play. You know, we saw in the last election, well, even going back to Hillary Clinton, that it were the Democrats who were more likely to cut off, any type of talking or discussion points with family members. They didn't want to invite them to Christmas. They didn't want to invite people to Thanksgiving. They didn't want to have anything to do with those folks. And it's just, to me, that's just sad. Family matters. And I'm sorry, but I think family it's who you got. And that doesn't mean it's always going to be great. Doesn't mean it's always going to be something that you love or that you are going to always embrace, but then it's who you got. And this idea that, forget it, I'm just going to go and find, some other folks to fill that void. Good luck on that. Because I think if you give up on your family, I think you give up on other people as well, and you probably give up on them pretty quick. 806-680-2790. That's 806-680-2790. I want to thank everybody for tuning in today, and thank everybody for tuning in throughout the week this week. I hope you enjoy your weekend. Stay safe. Stay healthy. May God bless each and every one of you, and enjoy your weekend. We'll be back together Monday at 5 p.m. That's right, Monday at 5 p.m. Be sure to follow me on social media at Chad Hasty Radio. God bless you all. We'll see you back here Monday at 5.
The Chad Hasty Show, a presentation of Texas Town Square Media Network. The views and opinions expressed during the Chad Hasty Show are not necessarily the views of this station's staff, management, advertisers, or Town Square Media.